Hello, Mana TV International viewers. Welcome back again on an engaging session on Healthy Life the Vegan Way. I am your host, Kalindi. Healthy Life the Vegan Way is in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, whose mission is to empower you to be healthy, to be kind, to be vegan, and to be human. Today, we are back with Dr. Shrenik Shah to continue our discussion on how to prevent, manage, and reverse disease with a whole food plant-based diet. For those who are new, Dr. Shah is a humanitarian and advocate of veganism and is a practicing physician in internal medicine for over 35 years. He has been vegan for over 20 years, and he's a firm believer and follower of a whole food plant-based diet. He strongly recommends vegan lifestyle to prevent, reverse, and manage disease and lead a healthy lifestyle. Our next guest, Dr. Moise Kasubai, is Associate Chair of Medicine in an academic medical center with a passionate interest in plant-based nutrition to prevent, reverse chronic medical conditions. He is also a physician advisor to healthcare technology companies and another great advocate of plant-based diet. With both our guests, today our topic of discussion is a disease which is second leading cause of death globally and also in the United States. Cancer, which is a group of disease involving abnormal cell growth, which can potentially invade and spread throughout your body. So now let's hear from our expert panel in plant-based nutrition on how to prevent and manage cancers. Dr. Shah, if you may start, please.
Well, as you mentioned, the cancer has become more or less like another pandemic, which was never really existing before several decades. And over the last 30 to 40 years, we've been seeing more and more cases of cancer, multiple varieties. And we are really trying to figure out, and I know there are multiple factors possible: genetics, environmental, chemicals, food, all those things. There are many factors. We cannot even go into the details because studies are not adequate yet. But a lot of studies have already been done and have been proven the connection between our diet and the cancers. I think Dr. Moise can shed some light on it.
Thanks to Dr. Shah. This is obviously a very interesting and compelling topic, which is many people be very much interested in it. All of us know somebody in the family who has had cancer, who has suffered it, and what we can do with plant-based nutrition to prevent it. If you have it, what we can do to prevent it, the recurrence of it, and how we can stop it from spreading around. As you know, and as Kalindi mentioned, the cancer is because of cell growth, which is it's uncontrolled cell growth. And the uncontrolled causes a tumor. And when the tumors form, these cancer cells release some chemicals, which causes increased growth of vessels around it. And the vessel causes the cancer to spread around the body. Now, what plant-based can do is prevent the damage to the genes that happen that can cause abnormal cell growth, and also can decrease the amount of vessel growth around the cancer so that cancer doesn't spread around. Now, I think everybody knows that smoking is the number one cancer-causing chemical in the world, tobacco.
Right.
What's the second? Very few people know that. It's actually obesity. It's overweight. It's the food that we eat that causes our weight to go up, and that causes cancer. There are about 13 cancers in the world which are related to weight. In women, 55% of cancers are because of weight, and in men, about 1/4 of the cancers are because of weight. Dr. Shah, would you agree with me on that?
Yes, I think so, because as the obesity goes up, your fat cells tend to secrete estrogen-like substances, which are, again, perpetuating the growth of the breast cells and the cervical cancers and uterine cancers and all those things. And then we have to realize that there are two kinds of chemicals in the world. Some are water-soluble and some are fat-soluble. Water-solubles, you drink the water and they go. Most of the times, it's a continuous turnover. But the fat-soluble chemicals are nasty because they go and dissolve in your body fat. And your body fat becomes a reservoir for those chemicals which are continuously being released. So I think that, like you rightfully said, the obesity has a lot to do with cancers. And we are really paying a high price for being overweight. Yes.
So that actually leads us to the next question. We're talking about obesity. Recently we have seen that the rate of obesity in the recent year has increased in recent years, has gone up exponentially. And there is a very, very big link between animal foods and obesity and also cancer. So can you shed some light connection between the animal foods and cancer?
The animal foods we can basically divide into meats and dairy products. So it's all coming from the animals. There has been a lot of studies being done, which a lot of them are very well known, like red meat has been linked with colon cancer without any doubt about it. WHO also has defined that the processed meats are the number one cause of cancers, dietary cause of cancers. They say about 34,000 cancers every year happen because of these processed meats, because of the chemicals in these processed meats. So a lot of meats have been linked. Eggs are very curiously, I just came to know recently that the eggs are carcinogenic, and there are certain cancers like lymphosarcomas and adenocarcinomas of the lungs are equally divided between the egg white and the yellow part of the egg. But the feminine cancers like breast cancers, uterine cancers have been linked with the egg yolk because they are related again to the fat, adipose tissues. So all these things are really eye-opener and that are telling us to stay away from the animal products. Milk is, of course, another factor, which there is a chemical called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor. How about that, Dr. Moise? Don't you agree?
Absolutely, Dr. Shah. So what insulin-like growth factor does, so when you eat food, and you may eat proteins, carbohydrates, whatever, but if you eat mainly animal protein that's present in meat and in dairy, it increases the insulin in your body. And that high insulin increases secretion of insulin-like growth factor. Now, this is important for replication of the cancer cells. That means the tumor will grow longer and larger and bigger, and also increase the amount of vascular growth around that. So there are more vessels feeding the tumor, and the tumor can now spread. As you all know, that very many people die not because of the initial tumor burden, they die because it spreads around the body and all around the body. And this is spread because of something called as angiogenesis, where the blood vessels are formed around the tumor and they take the cancer cells in all different parts of it. So insulin growth factor, which is found in animal protein, is absolutely bad. But the other thing is also when you cook the animal protein, you fry it, you broil it, you do different things with it, it releases different chemical compounds, which also causes inflammation and causes damage to the cells, and hence it can increase amount of cancer formation in the body.
So one of the reasons, sorry, just to go back, insulin-like growth factor, what we talked about is for our viewers, it's a molecule, insulin-like growth factor. IGF-1 is a molecule in our body, which is very essential during development. So during development, the role of this molecule is to proliferate, meaning increase cell growth, right? Even in adult, there is, it also plays a role in increasing number of cells in the body.
The way I explain to my patients is that IGF-1, which is mammal. So cows are mammals versus chickens are birds and reptile family in the long run and all that. And fish is another more remote. But the mammals we are mammals and cows are mammals. So our IGF-1 kind of interact with each other. Their IGF-1 will work in our body. Now, cow is a mother, and the mother is supposed to produce the milk for their baby. But this milk has 9 established hormones. Milk is not just a regular food that we're talking about. It's not like an apple you pick up from a tree and start eating. Anyone can eat the apple from any tree, but there is a close bond within the cow and the calf. So 9 hormones, including estrogen, progesterone, and luteinizing hormone, and FSH, and there are 9 hormones, and IGF happens to be one of them. So it's supposed to make the calf grow. If it's a male calf, it's supposed to turn into a bull. It's a female calf, it's supposed to turn into a cow. Now, fine, the calf needs to grow, no question about it. But what about us? We are already grown. Our sex centers are already stimulated. What are these hormones going to come and do to us? They're going to stimulate our sex hormones, which are already stimulated. So we're talking about breast cancer, cervical cancers, uterine cancers, even uterine fibroids that females get are tremendously related to the milk itself. So there is excessive amount of estrogen in our body, which is present now. These are the 9 natural hormones. You cannot remove them. Any kind of milk, even if you get an organic milk, These hormones are part of the milk. There is no way to remove them. On top of that, the dairy industry injects certain hormones, and these hormones are additional. Why do they do that? So that the cow can produce more milk. These are called estrogen-like substances, and one of them is called diethylstilbestrol. In late 1938s and to 50s and all that, diethylstilbestrol was routinely injected to the cows until they found out it causes cancer. So that's when the diethylstilbestrol was taken off the market. But we are smart. The industries are very smart. They will tweak the molecule. Instead of diethyl, they will make it triethyl or quadriethyl, tetraethyl. And no studies are done on that. So the business goes back to as usual. So estrogen-like substances are being injected to the cows in the effort to produce more milk. In fact, if you look at a cow which is walking, which is injected with the hormones, their udders literally rub against the ground, and they get, damaged and infected and all those things. And that's how the milk is produced, which comes into the stores. If you say try organic milk, yes, they will not be injected the hormones, and that they would not have been given antibiotics and all that. But what about the 9 natural hormones? You cannot remove. There is no way to remove it. So this IGF is a big problem. In females, it will cause breast, cervical, and uterine cancer. The same hormone will go into the males, will cause the prostate cancer. There is a documented findings that 11% rise of prostate cancer is because of the people who consume dairy on a regular basis. Right, Dr. Moise?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a very thorough explanation of why what we eat can cause cancer, really.
Yes.
And just to add to that, I mean, you were talking of eggs, and having 1 egg a day is equivalent to smoking 5 cigarettes a day. Here we have it.
Wow.
So that's the equivalence that is there. And everybody knows smoking is bad. Hey, now you know even eggs are bad.
Really. That too. Yes. So that is definitely an issue, and there is a way to prevent it. If I have a little time, I would like to share a slide. So just give me a moment, and it's very interesting. Oh, so I guess under this, we cannot share the slides. That's okay. Let me just explain. There is something called Rule of 10. The viewers may have to pay a little bit attention to it. It's a biological rule noticed by the biologicians throughout the world. The Rule of 10 means any organism, when they want to consume each other, they can take only 10% calorie. For example, a chicken wants to go eat the wheat, right? The wheat stalk is no good to the chicken. The roots are useless. The leaves are useless. The flowers are useless. They can eat only the grains, right? So this one is the milk and the cancer, which I was mentioning about. It's a beautiful example how the diethylstilbestrol was being advertised as a routine thing to give to the cows, and then of course it led to the breast cancer, and the same thing goes to the prostate cancer for men, right? So, but the next thing that I'm talking about is the rule of 10. This is a very interesting slide. I studied with my son in 8th grade biology textbook. I was reading and I just really rang the bell to me. I said, this is really eye-opener. So this is how it goes. So supposing a chicken wants to eat wheat, right? Like I said, the roots and leaves and all those things are useless. It can eat only the grains, which is 10% of the calories of the whole stock. This has been studied scientifically, so that it's all over the world, it is acceptable rule now. There's no doubt about it. So now, if you go into the further up, right? Say a fox wants to eat a chicken. Same thing is going to happen. Chicken hooves are no good. Chicken feathers are no good. Chicken beak is no good. The bones are useless. All that takes away 90% of the calories. So the meat is 10%. So now what is the extrapolation of that? And the lion, of course, will need 10 foxes, 100 chickens, and 1,000 plants of wheat, because each chicken consumes 10 plants, right? Because 10% from each plant, a chicken will need 10 plants to survive. So now that means 100 plants will be needed for a fox, and 1,000 plants will be needed for the lions. That's why they have huge territories to survive. But this is an eye-opener. This was written in the textbook in 8th grade. My son is 37-year-old now. So they say if the world became vegetarian, not just at that time, there was no concept of vegan, vegetarian, we will need only 10% of the farmland. So if basically 10 plants are needed to sufficiently sustain one chicken, but 100 plants are needed to sustain one fox. So people who are non-vegetarian, carnivorous are at the fox level and even going beyond lion. So now if you look at the chemicals which are present in 10 plants will go into the chicken's body, which is vegetarian, but chemicals present in 100 plants will go into the fox's body, and 1,000 plants worth of chemicals go into the lion body. Imagine, why won't the lion and the fox will have cancers? Tell me. All these chemicals are accumulating. And that's why, let me tell you one more slide. Do you know what happened to bald eagles? At one time, our national bird was going to become extinct. And you know why? Because of, as you're seeing on the slide, DDT. The DDT was being spread on the crops routinely. And all that will be washed off into the small streams, come to the small fish, to the bigger fish, to the bigger fish. And the highest on the food chain was the bald eagles. The DDT was accumulating on the eggshells and breaking the shells before the baby had a chance to hatch. Then they found out that DDT is being accumulated on the top of the food chain, which was the bald eagle, because bald eagles have no predators. So they found that out, they banned the DDT, and now the bald eagles are coming back to life. And good news to know that they are more in numbers now before the pilgrims came into this country. Can you believe that? It's a very successful story. So what does that tell us? Don't eat animals and animal products. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then what do you think, Kalindi, about this?
Wow, this is just incredible. And, the thing is, this gives us a hope, right?
Yes, yes.
Knowing when I started, I said that it's the second leading cause of death. Cancer, the group of disease, is the second leading cause of death globally and also in the United States. But a ray of hope is your diet.
Yes.
Your lifestyle has a big impact on it. We discussed with you, we discussed about epigenetics, even with Dr. Zishan Ali, we discussed about the role of epigenetics, the change in you have your environment impacts your genome. Yes. And have a change in your lifestyle, the way you eat, your diet, nutrition has a huge impact. So, Dr. Shine, Dr.
Epigenetics, when they say, when he meant the environment is not the surrounding environment, what we eat, and then what goes in our bloodstream, the bloodstream itself becomes the environment for the affecting the genetic structure of your cells. And the connection between the two is the remnant RNAs, which they thought was just a useless material, but they found out that carries the message from the environment, which is our blood circulation, into the genetic cells. And that's how it affects. So like we said with Dr. Ali, there are on-off switches. So depends upon the environment, certain environment will ignite the switch, certain environment will shut off the switch. So plant-based food has been found to shut off the switches for oncogenes, which suddenly turn into producing the cancers. So there is a lot of research has been done in the favor of plant-based diet. And I think one of the main advantages of the plant-based diet is the fiber. What do you say about that, Dr. Moise? What is the fiber? Fiber is a fascinating thing, right?
Absolutely, Dr. Shah. Thank you very much. That was really fascinating talking about the 10-to-1 rule, really.
Yes,
just to add that, plant-based nutrition is the only nutrition proven right now, over 20 years of research, to decrease cancer. There's no other nutrition proven. There's enough studies to show again and again that plant-based nutrition, which is your fruits, vegetables, legumes, beans, you're avoiding animal protein completely, that's your milk and meat, etc., reduces cancer. And it reduces cancer by 40%, a whopping 40%. And yes, fiber plays a fantastic role out there. What it does a couple of, at least 2 or 3 things, and you can add on to it. One thing, it clears all the hormones. There are a lot of these nasty hormones going into us because of what we eat. It clears up that. It improves when you eat meat, what it does, it damages the gut microbiome and causes increased inflammation. And this fiber will take away that inflammation and cause less amount of colon cancer also. The other things that what we eat, the plant-based nutrition that we eat, it has a lot of pigments. So as you always mentioned, have more colorful food because it has phytochemicals and phytoestrogens, Now, these decrease inflammation, decrease cancer, and they're found in plenty. Like beta carotene is found in sweet potatoes, lycopene is found in tomatoes. And just to add quickly, the lycopene, which is found in tomatoes, is best formed when you actually cook the tomatoes. This is one time where you want to cook the tomatoes. I think, Kalindi, you want to say something out there?
Yes, in fact, this is one vegetable that even in canned form, it has more nutrition, actually. Tomatoes, canned tomatoes have higher percent of lycopene.
Beautiful.
So, and what else? The other things that it does also, as we mentioned, that it decreases angiogenesis, that decreases the vessel growth around the tumors. So it has plenty of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and causes less amount of gene damage. And we keep saying that cancers, only 5 to 10% are genetics. Yeah. Even those cancers can be, as Dr. Shah was mentioning, the oncogenes can be suppressed by eating plant-based food.
Yes. What you do now is going to affect 3 generations. Through the epigenetics, there is a structure of, because I read the book by Deepak Chopra, The Super Gene, and he did it co-hosted with another geneticist, and the research was showing that what the changes you're making now is going to affect up to next 3 generations. So it's a beautiful thing. The couple of things I want to add about the fiber, fiber is basically the bark of the tree, right? But in a miniature form, every cell on the plant side has a cell wall, which is made out of cellulose, which is fiber. By the way, the animal side, all the cells have a cell membrane made out of cholesterol. Actually, it's all fat. And all the fat-related chemicals will be coming from the animals. Plant side, the only thing that has fat are the nuts. Other than that, everything else is all fiber-based, right? So this fiber is very interesting. It's very gritty, right? So when you eat, it kind of rubs against your inner lining. And it kind of brush out all the dying cells which are sitting in the front and which are ready to shed off, but they are not shedding off. It will speed up the process of shedding it off. So what happens is the new healthy cells will come in the front. The old dying cells, they start developing oncogenes on their cell walls. Right. By removing these cells, you're reducing the risk of cancer. So that is one other thing, by bringing the healthy cells, which are a more capacity to fight against cancers. So all this plant-based diet has a tremendous capacity to fight against the cancers. The another example people can relate is like if somebody, say, takes a poison, they end up in the emergency room. Do they know what we give them? Charcoal. Activated charcoal. Right. What is activated charcoal? It's a tree bark, right? So what does the charcoal do? It absorbs all the poisons and release the poison from the gut. So the same way, if you can put that analogy into your diet, if you eat a lot of fiber, all the toxins which are coming from your eating burgers and all those things, or the unhealthy foods, it can bind to that. So simultaneously eating the whole food plant-based diet, at least to some extent, will relieve. And hopefully you will not eat any of the unhealthy foods. But even if there are chemicals present, it will absorb those. And when you move your bowels, it takes them out. So it's really a beautiful thing, the fiber.
And so, one more thing about fiber, I must add, Dr. Shah is out there, it makes you full. So when you eat fiber, it makes you full. So you eat less. That means you're having less amount of calories.
Absolutely.
Secondly, it also decreases the absorption of sugar in your body. Yes. So it slows the absorption. Slowing the absorption decreases the increased amount of insulin-like growth factor, which can cause cancer, really. So and we know that obesity is a second most common cause of cancer. So fiber decreases obesity. So it's just wonderful overall.
And we talked about in the cholesterol talk that it also works like a scrubbing, and it works like a sponge, holds on to the cells until they're moved out of the body. So that's why these Quaker Oats boxes, they reduce cholesterol by 15%. So it actually reduces your cholesterol, but animals give you cholesterol. So yes, we are digressing from the cancer, but I think these are important issues,
Right. In fact, I wanted to cite one of the studies. It's one of the largest one done among about 70,000 volunteers. Information was collected about their diet, and they were tracked over time. And what they found was the lowest rate of cancer among people who did not eat meat at all. And even within that group, vegans had even lower, rate of cancer of any diet. Wonderful. So whole food, plant-based. And
One more thing, Kalandi, which is interesting.
yes,
That,
yes,
most of us in the world are lactose intolerant, right?
yes, a very good point,
And if you're
Dr.
lactose intolerant, there are people who do not have lactose, like milk or yogurt, and all the dairy products. They have less cancer. So
Right.
lactose intolerance is a protection, and despite of that, we yet have more lactose and more dairy, which is quite sort of weird in its own way.
Lactose intolerance, we consider that as a nuisance in general, but it's your natural state.
Right,
Our
right.
body was never designed to digest milk, because milk, there is no animal in the world crosses one species to another. Cows, like a dog's baby will not go and drink the
Cow's milk, right?
cat's milk or cow's milk or anything. We are the only stupid animal who does that. And the thing is that I used to enjoy the dairy products and all that, but 20 years. So ultimately, I lost my lactase producing capacity. Now, even if I have a candy, I just want to give it a try and see, I get a gas because I'm not used to it. I don't have the lactase anymore. So I became natural state, which the way it's supposed to be. But because we feed to the baby continuously when the baby is young, he starts producing a capacity to make lactase, and that's artificially acquired. So that people have to understand that.
But that capacity over time reduces the levels of enzyme drop in our body. So as we grow, or as we age,
hopefully the world will change so that they will never induce the babies to produce their own lactase in the first place if they stop feeding them.
Right. Right. One more thing the lactose does in the body is gets converted into galactose, and galactose is directly toxic to the ovarian cells. It means it causes ovarian cancer.
Right.
We know the milk has hormones, which causes your prostate and breast cancer, but also causes ovarian cancer by directly causing toxicity to it. So,
and galactose itself is readily can convert into sugar.
Sugar, right?
The glucose. So 40% of the calories of the milk comes from lactose, which is sugar also. So milk causes diabetes, milk causes cancers, animal foods causes cancers. The bottom line is whole food, plant-based diet.
So fiber is the mantra. If for those who watched all the topics, one takeaway is fiber. And I think the more and more we find about, more and more research into plant-based diet, I think fiber will be itself introduced as a food group in in my plate.
Absolutely.
Right. So thank you very much, Dr. Shah and Dr. Kasubai, for another wonderful informational session. Eating, now we know that fiber, in whether it's cholesterol, whether it's diabetes or cancer, any of these diseases, whole food plant-based diet filled with fiber is the way to manage, prevent, or reverse disease. Eating a plant-based diet, another thing about plant-based diet is eating a plant-based diet, it does not have to be all or nothing. You can start anytime. You can make smaller changes, and these smaller changes will have a big impact. So for those who are new to this, start today. Take control of yourself, take control of your life, and live healthy life the vegan way. Thank you very much, Dr. Shah and Dr. Kasubai.